Ida B, Chapter 15. I stopped in the doorway of room 130 for a minute, just taking it in so I could do like soldiers do before a battle. Assess the enemy, formulate a plan, get armed, and attack. Some kids were still hanging up their coats, talking to each other, getting books out, making happy sounds. Outside, the sun was starting to come out, and it was shining in the windows. There were rainbows and pictures and big colorful words on the bulletin boards. There was even a pretty rug at the far end of the room where there were no desks, only shelves of books that looked like real books, not school books. All that was missing were bluebirds and chirping music. And there was Miss Washington, I figured, sitting in a kid's chair with her chin resting in her hand, listening to some girl who was picking her fingers and talking at the same time. I could tell this was a warm place. Not a warm temperature place, but a warm feeling inside place. Some part of me knew it, but my heart refused to feel it. So I kept looking around, making a list of everything in my head so I could use it if I had to for my plan to be unknown, uninvolved, and uninterested. "Well, hello," I heard a low, friendly voice say. I looked over to where the voice came from. And there was Miss Washington, staring right at me and heading straight for me. That woman was like a truck, big and powerful and directed. But she moved smoothly and soundlessly, like a top-of-the-line luxury model. "Are you Ida?" she asked, smiling as she came toward me. And I was so surprised by her voice and her size, and that I could feel her even when she was 20 feet away, that I just stood there for a bit. When I gathered myself together, all I could do was nod. "Welcome, Ida. I'm Miss Washington," she said, and she put out her hand to shake mine. I gave her my hand, but not because I wanted to, but because I wasn't thinking straight. Miss Washington turned out to be nothing like I expected, had temporarily disrupted my assessment of the enemy and my plan. But not for long. I watched my hand go up and down like a pump handle. "Why don't you take off your coat and hang it up, and then I'll show you around," she said. So I headed to the coat room and had myself back in fighting form by the time I got back to her. "Everyone, this is Ida Applewood, and she's going to be in our class from now on," Miss Washington told the kids in the room. "Hi, Ida," they all chimed. I stood there and gave them the blank-faced Miss America, the miserable flat hand up and back down again wave. "Why don't you each tell Ida your name and something about yourself?" Miss Washington said. There was a girl named Patrice who had a sparkly shirt, sparkly fingernails, and sparkly barrettes too, and said her best friend was Simone. There was a boy named Calvin who told me his favorite thing in the world was homework, and then he grinned real big at Miss Washington. And there was a girl named Claire who said she liked to read. And play with her friends and go on trips with her family, and she would show me around if I wanted. There was a whole bunch of other ones too, and they were all smiling like they were happy to meet me and happy to be there, and it was all I could do to look at them and be polite. "You poor suckers," I wanted to say, and I don't usually use that sort of language. "You just don't know any better. But I know the deal. Ida, is that the name you go by, or do you have a nickname you like to use?" I heard Miss Washington ask. Now, I knew Miss Washington was talking to me, but I couldn't believe she was asking me that particular question. Like she was trying to tell me that all of those tribulations with Miss Myers were just a bad dream, that this bright, cheerful place was what school was really like, and tomorrow it was going to rain silver dollars too. She looked so sincere and caring, I almost wanted to believe her. I cannot read now. Sorry. She looked so sincere and caring, I almost wanted to believe her. But I didn't. And I wouldn't in 1.5 million years. "No, just Ida," I said. "Is there anything you'd like to tell us about yourself?" she asked me. Well, there were a few things my mouth was itching to share, but I quickly decided that saying, "I hate school and anything that goes with it, and I completely expect that being a student in this class will suck the life out of me before the end of this week," on the first day back at Ernest B. Lawson Elementary School, probably wasn't the best plan, even though it might be the most truthful. "No, ma'am," is all I said. "Well, all right," Miss Washington said back, sounding a little disappointed but not pushing it. "Let's begin." And it was all okay. Not good, but not the most terrible, excruciating, utterly painful experience ever. Nobody bothered or picked on me. They smiled at me, and I just looked straight at them, my face blank like they weren't even really there, which is the most effective technique for making people uncomfortable and ensuring that you will have no friends. I did the worksheets, lined up, followed directions, answered when I was called on, didn't talk out of turn, and it was just fine. Better than being buried in an anthill with a boa constrictor around your neck and lima beans stuffed in your mouth. At recess, we went outdoors. I sat on the steps just outside the back entrance, put my chin on my knees, and watched nothing. One of the girls from my class, the one named Claire, ran over, stopped in front of me, and asked, "Do you want to play with us, Ida?" "No," I said right away without thinking about it, because that was my plan. No friends, no play, no smiling, no happy. "Okay," she said back, looking surprised and maybe hurt, and walked away. And I did feel a little bit bad about not even trying to be nice. But I knew I was right, because here's the thing. How do you run and play when you feel like there are bricks of the heaviest sadness weighing down on every part of your body? How do you laugh and talk when there are no laughs left inside of you? Just when I'd been sitting on those concrete steps for so long, my back end was numb. Miss Washington came over and sat down beside me, so close I could feel the warm coming out of her. I could smell peanut butter and summer flowers on her, too. "How's it going, Ida?" she said matter of fact, looking straight ahead just like me. "Okay." "Anything you want to talk about?" she asked. I stuck with my standard response. "No, ma'am." "Well," she said, "when you want to talk, I'm ready to listen. And while I do believe the statement is number 5 on the top of all-time silliest things grown-ups say list, Miss Washington didn't sound too silly when she said it. Miss Washington gave me a minute to soften up and give in, because she didn't know about my heart and its resolution, and that she was dealing with a mighty and unbending will. "I'll see you inside then," she finally said after a good stretch of silence, and she touched my arm as she got up. Just enough so I felt it after she was gone, but not so much that I minded. "Yes, ma'am," I replied.